flip, you skip, you pip, you strip, you drip, you trip, you whip, you kip, you flip, the flip, you flip, the script, you flip, the script, you flip, the script, flip, the script, flip, the script, flip, the script, flip, the script.
Welcome back. Today we're flipping the script on mental health and mental disorders, and we were talking about how here in Uganda mostly people recognize schizophrenia, psychosis, and they even then affiliate them to witchcraft and probably curses, anything dark. Just like physical health, we have ascertained that it is part of well-being, general well-being. So Abe had a point about culture and that whole zonto thing you were talking about.
Yeah, that's where the stigma headed. Now instead of helping someone who's a child who's mentally ill, they refer to him by or Zoro, or your Zonto.
I've heard of that.
Like, oh, you're Muraru. Like, don't waste your time with that, But, so now, if you realize maybe you're depressed, you can't come out because now you're going to be that child. You're going to be, so before you know it, everyone's like, keeping quiet. So you see, this is awareness we need to push down. Like you said, de-institutionalize.
And even workplaces, I feel like people are so comfortable to ask for sick leave, but the sickness has to be physical, not mental.
Mental.
You cannot say, I need a few days off, I'm so stressed. And
God
give it to
forbid
you.
they start calling you nuts
Yes.
because you said you have a mental issue.
And people will
They'll
start to
probably
classify.
send you to us and they'll ask for an official letter where we'd have to assess you and all that.
All of us have a time in our life where we undergo some kind, maybe triggered by stress, triggered by stress, triggered by grief.
Okay, they start to say that 1 out of 4 people will experience a
mental health problem,
once in their life at least.
Yeah, I personally went through a very dark time in my life. I was a bit depressed following the birth of my child and an accident. So that was post-traumatic stress disorder. I later found out. I don't want to put a name to it, but it then put me in that. I was really confused, but I learned that it's a combination of hormones. It's a combination of that whole turn in my life that put me from being able to do the workaholic me, do everything myself, to now depending on people to wheel me around because I'd gotten an accident. So I am so passionate about this. That is why I speak about it with passion, especially depression. Could we go to that part?
Yes, but before we go to that part, I have to commend you because it's not easy for people to speak up and say they've been through this or they're going through this or they're living with this, and for you to say, you know what, this is what happened to me, but you're here now and you're doing something about it, you're advocating for it. I think that's brave, and we should commend you for that.
That's what puts me on the path that I'm on.
It's very funny how sometimes we use words like "I'm crazy."
You
to
know,
me, even don't joke with me.
Yes.
It's a trend.
Yeah,
Like
to,
a
Yes.
friend,
It's fancy.
to keep on saying,
It's
you
called
know what,
romanticizing
Yes,
mental,
and
which is not
romanticizing.
I'm loving the
romanticizing
terms.
it.
Of
Yes.
romantic.
yeah, because that waters it all down. You
Yes.
know, you'd be like someone is going through a downtime in a day, and they're like, Banange, I'm so depressed, this and that, and then someone is going through, is a perfectionist of sorts, and then you're like, by the way, me I have OCD. I have OCD. By the way, it's like the in thing to
my
have
OCD,
Yes.
my OCD is
My OCD doesn't let me do this.
Teresa, and you're thinking, have you met someone? Have you watched The Monk?
Yes, I love that show.
Yes, I loved him. And I'm thinking, you guys who are saying you have OCD, none of you has OCD. Because if you did.
I know. What I went through, mine was a land issue. So I had to stand surety for someone, and I signed documents. It so happened that the bailiffs now turned their attention to me because they saw how much I love this person. So they started coming to my workplace with handcuffs. Well, they're trying to scare me. It worked. So you can imagine for like a whole 7 days, like bring my 10 million. Somebody went backwards from a good. I think it was a panic attack.
Yes.
Anxiety.
Imagine what your bosses are thinking.
I could not breathe. I had to use a paper bag, like to.
Yes.
So the next day I go to my doctor. Doctor's like, you know what? I'm giving you Xanax, Alprazolam. I'm like, I'm going to be on Xanax. So you see, even I had the stigma, like, there's no one taking these things, man.
Yes.
And there's no one telling my friends I'm taking Xanax. But then I was like, you know what? When you share, sometimes it's more venting.
Yes.
You know? So I took the Xanax for 3 days. I was okay. That went. But now I know how some people can be in that state for like a year. You can imagine.
I've learned that it's easier for people to talk about things after they've gone through instead of during. Yeah, because I think they're in a state of, will they understand me? And I think they also don't know where to go, where to start, where do I move on from here? Okay, because also the other thing I wanted us to talk about is where are they supposed to go? Layman, if you notice Abba is going through something and Abba is my friend, what am I supposed to tell him? Intervention. How do I start? Procedure.
I think you should have a support system. Your most immediate family should be able to identify, and then usually you've heard of people, family members, when you're in denial, especially when, let me say you're going through a depression. Usually you're isolated most of the time.
Symptoms.
And it takes people around you to identify. That is the issue. Identifying that, you know what,
This is
Zara
what
has a problem.
There's also interpretation of the symptoms. I've had a number of relatives come in and say, oh, he doesn't want to get up, you know, or he just doesn't want to read books anymore, or she doesn't want to do this. But sometimes it's not just that she doesn't feel like it, it's the essence of the symptoms.
Hi, this is Elle. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Please subscribe to Flipping the Script so you don't miss out on anything. Okay, so we're back with mental health, and we wanted to now put the light on mindfulness.
Yes.
So like Linda had asked earlier, expound on mindfulness.
Right. So mindfulness is, and this is something that I also use for my mental health struggles. It's sort of like it's a very easy, very essential psychotherapy that we use, especially for anxiety disorders and even for depression, because depression can present with some anxiety-related type of symptoms. And essentially with mindfulness, what you're trying to do is you're trying to shift your struggles from being like a narrative thing to you having to go through the processes in a healthy way, right? So it's very calming and it's very easy to do. And they're free applications for those interested.
There's an app?
There's an app. I have it on my phone. It's called Stop, Breathe, and Think.
Does it?
It's very, it gives you something that we call guided meditation, right? So,
What's the name of the app?
Stop, Think, and Breathe.
Stop,
Breathe, and Think. Stop, Breathe, and Think.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. That's what I was going to ask
And
you.
it can
Does
be
it
installed
have
on any phone?
Yes.
Apple.
It works on Apple and it
iPhone,
works on Android.
Android.
Yes.
Does it have to do with the breathing exercises? Does it have those?
Yes.
Because I love those. I
Yes,
love
I'm
breathing.
glad someone
Yoga.
loves the breathing exercise. So yoga is one of the sort of mindfulness things. So when you think of yoga and when you think of the word mindfulness, it's basically being in touch with your sense of being, right? So most psychotherapists currently use a little bit of mindfulness in their sessions, so they'll incorporate it with something like cognitive behavioral therapy. Don't mind those technical terms. This isn't really a psych class, yes. But it would be something very simple. So it's something like you could have a sweet on the table and like just you know, notice the sweet. And essentially you're supposed to focus on that voice. And you're supposed to focus on your breathing. It also brings your awareness to your surroundings, to where you're sitting. So it's essentially guided meditations. And the thing that I like about the app that I mentioned is that you check in before you start a guided meditation, and then you check in after. So if you check in first, I'll ask you for how you're feeling, what you're thinking, you know? Yes, and then it incorporates that and gives you a few options for what you could do. So sometimes you don't even have to wait until you're feeling ill or you're feeling stressed. You know, sometimes you're like, you know what, I'm bored. Meditate.
I love it.
Go into mindfulness. You don't need to,
You don't need the paper
so
bag
then,
that's just
so then what it does is it's preventive then.
But we need a fidget spinner. Do these things work?
You can redirect behavior. So people with what we call body-focused repetitive behavior. So people who pull their, you know, hair out, trichotillomania, or
yeah,
pathological
Or
skin
bite their
picking,
nails.
or bite their nails.
I bite my lips.
Yes,
Yeah,
or
I-
bite your lips. That would be
good distraction,
yes, it'd be a good distraction. So not
like-
necessarily fidget spinners. Anything else?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I like
Stress
how,
ball.
I like the
Stress ball. Yes.
Yes, I like the cognitive
Behavioral
therapy.
therapy?
Yeah, I love it because how I know about it, it's a section in a course that I did, yeah, a life coaching course.
In counseling as well.
Yeah, in counseling as well. It must be there
Actually,
as
she
well.
would be the best person to tell us this. Counselors and psychologists use CBT and
Yes,
other
a lot.
psychotherapies a lot more than psychiatrists do.
Yes.
We should, as psychiatrists, though, be able to do our own therapies.
But I like how I also like how you should find a balance. You know, it's not only about medication,
Yes.
but also promoting things like breathe deeper, take some time to reflect on things that calm you. You know,
Talk to someone, yes.
How you need to relieve yourself before you seek out the help. You know, It's
And I
very-
think most of these people who are experiencing all these things, there is fear to be alone.
Yes.
Yet it's actually very healthy to find time alone.
Yes,
You should be comfortable to spend some time alone, to think,
meditate.
to meditate, to even just love on yourself.
Yes.
Yeah?
That's a common joke, you know, like, especially
Self-love.
men. Some men prefer to be just alone and,
Yeah.
and at home, just doing nothing. Then what's
Yes.
wrong with you?
But at the end of the day, if it's not impairing you, again, you're fine. If you're able to be productive, it's okay. But that's the thing that I feel like what Linda was saying. People are afraid to be alone, you know, and sometimes it's not the worst thing
bad
there is
thing.
out there, right? So obviously, seek help, yes, because you know, like we would need to assess that you're not suicidal, otherwise we wouldn't leave you alone. You know, yeah. So once you're in the clear and you're able to stay alone, it's not going to bring you any further mental health issues. You know, do that. You know, be in touch with who you are. I stopped doing this, but I used to spend at least an hour in the evening before I fall asleep. I just lie in bed and listen to all my favorite music. That just calms me down. Speaking of, I need to go back to doing that now.
And by the way,
So it's simple things.
me
Yes.
as a person, I think because I spend most of my days talking to people, so I have to listen a lot. So I have a lot of voices in my head.
Yes.
I find time and go away somewhere, a restaurant, anywhere that is that doesn't have a crowd, and I could go with a book
Yeah.
And just have your
and just have my me time.
Yes.
And sometimes I don't even go with a book. I just put my phone in silence and I just lie in a, I don't know,
And
a
it's
couch or
very
something,
good, yeah.
and I'm just staring at people arriving, leaving.
And I'm glad you brought the putting the phone on silent. We are so attached to our phones.
Oh.
And then
And you're thinking you're alone, but you're not alone.
but you're
because
not really
you're with a
alone, you
zillion
know?
other people.
And yes,
comforting.
you know? But there's certain things like when you pick up positive habits, you know, and they take over in time. So things like, I think we also have this on Apple, the health app that comes with Samsung. I'm an Android user, proudly. So
okay.
there are communities. There are communities like on the Samsung Health app, right? That you know people share their experiences, and for women, I found this application that helps with our cycles. You know, so there's also
I use that
yes, me
all
too.
the time,
Oh my
and
God.
it's spot on for
It
me.
is so spot on.
See,
I
yeah.
know their cycle predictions are crazy.
Yes.
But my point is, there's a community, right? So take time to be alone, to reflect, you know. And
Yes.
for us healthcare practitioners, that can be hard, given that we listen to these things on a daily basis. But it's very important for us
Yeah.
and
Now-
everyone in general.
Before you leave that, now that you mentioned that, even when in our pregnancy, the whole pregnancy time, from the whole 9 months, there's that application that helps you follow up, and it has support groups as well.
Wow.
Because then they describe that at this stage you could be feeling this.
Yes.
And there are other people that you can
Feeling the
chat
same, yeah.
with.
Yes.
It makes
So
you feel,
it makes you feel like, you know.
So if
I'm
we
okay.
had an
I'm normal.
application for men
Yes.
and what they're going through.
Yeah, we should work on that, Abel.
Very good
we should
idea.
work on that. Huh? Flipping the script
Yeah,
should work on
someone's
that.
stealing the idea right now.
Instead of fantasy football, or I don't know what guys, I don't know what guys.
They should do maybe a game thing.
I know the men will be
You
like,
know, yeah, but
with their app,
but there's a forum, you know, yeah, and then
Let's
there's a
be
forum. So
Okay.
we can turn the technology around to serve healthy purposes, you know, to
Exactly.
build
It
health
shouldn't
in
be just
general.
for chatting and just gossip
Very
and
And
all
so,
that.
yes.
So just to bring us back, Abe had an interesting question about alcohol and substance abuse.
Substance, yeah.
Yes.
Please. Hello, my name is Abe. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? If you haven't yet, please do. Subscribe to Flipping the Script on YouTube.
Okay, so going back to Abe's question on alcohol and substance abuse and dependence, right? So currently we're still using those terms, abuse and dependence, but we've just grouped everything all together into use disorder.
Use disorders.
Yes. So ideally, we're looking at, there's a whole list of symptoms, but two things usually kind of stick out. And one of them is, and you mentioned this tolerance, which is where you need a higher amount of the substance
To achieve the
same
same
effect, yes. Or you need to use the same substance over a longer period of time to achieve the same effect. And the other one is withdrawal. So when you abruptly stop or you decrease the amount,
You get these symptoms.
yes, you get certain symptoms. So most people, like with opioids, like heroin, you've heard of cold turkeys?
Yeah.
Yes, so symptoms like that. Or most commonly, sleep is usually affected. The mood, someone's mood is
Let's go
affected.
back to cold turkeys.
Yes.
I'm imagining our viewers may not know the term or what it feels
But why
like.
would the turkey be cold?
I'm not sure what it feels like either. Okay, so the word cold, the term cold turkeys comes from, you know, when you want to cook a bird and you have to dip them in hot water first and then pluck out the feathers. So they have those little, you know, when you get goosebumps,
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Small.
So those, yes. So that's basically what happens. The goosebumps. It's called, yes. There's so many terms for it, right? Yeah. So we call it piloerection.
Piloerection.
Yeah, it's
The
basically
hair.
where the hair. Linda, don't
Interesting.
go there. Don't go there.
A pilot like a,
Don't go there. But yes,
Cold turkeys could be
basically
also referred to as
Pyroelection.
piloerection. Yes. So you know when it's cold and your hair follicles, like your hair stands up,
Stands up,
and you
yeah.
get all goose pimply, yeah. Or sometimes when you experience a deep sort of emotion, I don't know, when Adele sings, for some reason, my hair just,
it happens to me all the time.
There we
American Got
go.
Talent, US
Get
Idol. They hit the note. I'm like,
yes,
I get
Like-
that.
yes, like all over, yes.
I'm
So
trying to avoid that word.
piloerection.
I'm making it's
Don't go
election
there.
As far as we're concerned, it's election. As far as we're concerned.
the cold turkeys, yes. So along with other symptoms, so depending on the substance, you have different withdrawal symptoms, you know, so things from abdominal pain to difficulty sleeping, difficulty eating. Yes, itching.
Some people are never steady.
Yes,
see
you
them
fidget,
like-
you'll be irritable.
they're
Yes,
irritable,
they're on edge,
they're
you know.
erratic.
So if you want to really go into the substances, even though that's going to take forever, we'll just like split them into a few categories that are easy to understand. So first of all, alcohol is a very common problem in our setting.
That one, yeah.
Yo, you guys drink. I mean, yes, but this is
Hey,
you guys
We've
party
lost
on
record.
another level. No. I'm not
lost
I'm not
record.
saying it in like a negative way. I mean like you guys party on another level.
Yeah.
Like I just wow, that is amazing. Yes, I've had so much fun since I got here. I hope my mom is not watching this. But alcohol is a major problem. So sometimes it starts like that, you know. It starts as, oh, a friend of mine is doing it, and it's usually, you know, their gateway clubs and their gateway drugs. Cigarettes is one of them, and then that moves into cannabis, or what we call weed, ganja. Yes,
Ganja planta.
So with alcohol, especially being, it's a very hard addiction to beat. Okay, and given that we're talking about substance use disorders, I would like to say something to the people watching. Yes, it is an illness. It is not a character flaw. People don't choose to have illnesses. They don't choose to have addictions. I mean, nobody would choose to have a flu, no matter how small it seems. Yes, it's very distressing. But at the end of the day, that being said, it is up to the person themselves to want to change.
Oh,
Yeah, because a routine can
Always
become a
begins,
habit.
yeah, it always
Yes.
begins
Yeah?
with that.
So it starts off very small. So and this is especially for parents who have adolescents. It's always good to explore, yes, but there's there should be a limit
Limits,
to
yeah.
to then preventing
controls.
issues. Yes, you know.
There should be controls, especially for
I really
parents.
like how you related it to getting like a common cold. No one chooses to get a flu, but you get it. You know, people think mental health.
Yes.
But it's just like how you grab a flu. It will start small. You start with just a glass of something. Before you know it,
going
before
into a
you know
monster.
it,
Have
it
fever,
covers
you're
down.
distressed,
Before you know
yes.
it, you use it as a cover up, a feel good factor. I'm feeling low. Hit the bar. You know, once you start to use it to cover up for so much, then I think you're starting to head
It becomes your
towards-
getaway place.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like an escape.
And this goes back to the men in our lives. In our lives, I mean, in our community. So men, because we haven't created that space for them to be able to access mental health care very, very openly, very
even
easily.
express.
Yes, or to even express themselves, even to the people around them, to their friends. You know.
To their spouses.
It's actually very common for males to have a mental illness and what we call a comorbid substance use disorder, especially alcohol.
So it's like a combination. They
It's a
call
combination,
it something
yes.
like a
So you could be dealing, as a male, you could be dealing with depression, and in order for you
Cover
to
it
make
up.
yourself feel good,
good,
yes,
yeah,
you
you-
hit the
is
bar. Your escape is
so
alcohol.
you-
I've heard of it. Okay, someone was describing someone. You know, like how I could describe Abe, and I'm like, Abe is really fun, but you don't want to meet Abe if he's sober. He's so quiet and withdrawn,
Oh,
but
yes.
he is
Oh,
the cool
yes.
Abe that you know when
After
he's
he's
taken something.
taken
And
something.
you know, it's like I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
really
know those.
sad.
So
yeah.
terms
They're
like
very
that are
shy
actually
and,
quite
you know, when
sad.
sober, very
Yes.
shy
And
and
introverted,
introverted, yeah.
but when you give them that, then they come out of their shell. But that's not okay.
There's nothing wrong with being quiet and shy
Yes,
and introverted.
yes.
You know, you can be quiet and shy and introverted, and you could still be fun when you drink. But at the end of the day, as long as your drinking is not hindering your
Hindering
productivity.
Your productivity. Yeah.
I've actually heard of people who can't dance until they are drunk.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm called Grace Linda. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? If you haven't, it's called Flipping the Script. Please subscribe lest you miss out on all we have in store for you.
You whip, you kick, you flip, the flip, you flip, the script, you flip, the script, you flip, the script, you flip, you flip, the script, you flip, the script, you flip, the script, you flip, the script.